Thanks, John. It's not often I'm referenced as part of the old guard. Thank you. Let's make sure I got this working. Yeah, let's get started. So I want to continue briefly on a topic that John likes to bring up often, and that's the topic of discovery exploration. And this is a chart that I hope you've all seen because it's very important. On the bottom there in yellow, you've got a bar graph that shows million ounces of gold discovered per year going back into the 70s. And in red there, you've got exploration expenditures. And what you see is through the 70s, through the 80s, 90s, and into the early 2000s, expenditures and discovery went hand in hand. What happened in this last cycle was that they diverged. More money was spent by more people looking in more places, and they found less and less than ever before. So we're all here because we hope we're on the verge of the next go-around here, our next cycle. And I think it's very important that we ask the question, what are we going to be doing different? How do we break this cycle? And that's our story. So where do we start? Question? It's a very easy answer. You start in Nevada. Since its inception, Nevada has produced more than 200 million ounces of gold. On an annual basis, Nevada is producing approximately 5 million ounces per year. That's more than Canada, it's more than South Africa, it's more than Mexico combined. I mean, each country combined. On a per area basis, there is no other jurisdiction in the world that produces more gold by area than Nevada, and by far. Nevada has deposits like Goldstrike and Cortez, each of which are producing 1 million ounces per year. So those are big numbers, produces a nice chart. But what's most exciting about Nevada is not what we've already found, but what's still waiting to be found. And what you need to know is that more than 50% of Nevada's bedrock sits there, hidden beneath its basins. This is a typical Nevada scene. Pardon me. You've got exposed bedrock in the ranges with covered bedrock in the basement, in the basins here. The geology of Nevada's exposed mountain ranges is exactly the same as the geology of the bedrock contained beneath Nevada's covered basins. But when you look at the distribution of those 200 million ounces, what you find is those 200 million ounces have been pulled out of the ground from areas in and close to these exposed mountain ranges. There's no reason not to assume, this is the USGS confirming, there's no reason not to assume there's as much gold, another 200 million ounces waiting to be found in Nevada's basement. For every Cortez, for every Goldstrike, there's another 1 million ounce per year producer waiting to be found in Nevada's basins. But what's the problem? Why aren't we finding them? Well, the challenge is, what we haven't been able to do in these basins is what we've done in the exposed range, is that's district scale exploration. Whereas where you can see the rocks, when you can apply tools. We're familiar with provincial and state and even countrywide stream sediment sampling programs. We're familiar with till sampling programs across the Northwest Territories. These programs, these large-scale district programs, have generated major rounds of discovery in all of our major jurisdictions. But what we haven't had is that sort of activity in the basins. And why is that? Well, we haven't had a tool that's able to give us large-scale geochemical data in covered settings. Conventional geology requires we see the rocks. We have to be able to bang off a sample. We have to send to the lab. Well, we can't do that in these covered settings. Well, how do we collect thousands of samples across thousands of square kilometers when we can't even see the bedrock? What do we sample? Well, the answer is you sample the groundwater. These basins are filled with not just the sands and gravel that have washed in off the range fronts, they're filled with groundwater. You don't have to go more than 100 feet on average below the surface in Nevada to find groundwater. As you might remember, groundwater is the universal solvent, and whatever the groundwater sees as interacts with these covered bedrock settings, whatever the geochemistry that you see in the bedrock is reflected in the geochemistry of the groundwater. So recognizing the powerful nature of this tool, it's a tool that's been used in other sectors. What we've done is we've taken the latest generation of laboratory technology, the technology that allows us to now sample groundwater down to single-digit parts per trillion, and we've conducted the largest groundwater chemistry sampling program for gold ever completed, in the heart of the densest concentration of gold deposits, producing gold deposits anywhere in the world. We've collected over 50,000 historic groundwater samples that provide us trace element geochemistry, the same trace element geochemistry that's important when you're drilling, and soil samples and any other geochemical medium you might be familiar with. And in addition to that, we collect groundwater samples for gold. What started as a fairly modest program, knocking on doors, asking for groundwater samples, has evolved today into using technology and new custom equipment that allows us to get groundwater samples wherever we want. This allows us to go across the same basins of interest that the rest of the industry is going into and adding a new layer of information. So what does that look like on the ground? This is a map of north central Nevada. You might, Battle Mountain Trend, Carlin Trend, these are names that we're all familiar with. Since over the last 100 years, we've got very good information as to what the range-front geology looks like. We understand the structural trends, the major rock units, the stratigraphy, and with all this information, we've been very good at finding large deposits. Up to the right here, this is the Carlin Trend. We've got the Battle Mountain Eureka Trend. On this slide, there's north of 100 million ounces just in this little area here. What you also see in this slide is half of the map's blank. 50% of the densest concentration of gold deposits anywhere in the world sitting on this map blank. That's what we've come to change here. This is a map of our groundwater chemistry database. This is 10 years, 12 years, more than 10 million US, specifically to collect geochemical samples in the heart of Nevada's major gold districts. To show you what this looks like on a basin scale, which you might be more familiar with, we're going to zoom into an area just the south of the map here, near Cortez Hills. At the north there, you've got Cortez and Pipeline. The complex there together represents more than 40 million ounces of gold. We've got well understood range-front geology. We've got prospects continuing off to the south there. These are, and large covered areas. These are areas where many majors and many juniors have been active for several decades. None have met with much in the way of success, because none have had a tool that have been able to cost effectively reduce these large areas down to discrete targets where we can get started applying tools that we're more familiar with, such as drilling. So using groundwater chemistry, we've conducted extensive groundwater sampling, particularly south of Cortez and Cortez Pipeline there. And this is an area called Grass Valley. Now, what you all want to see, what do the gold and groundwater concentrations look like south of Cortez there? Well, mostly you find nothing. This is representative of all of Nevada. It's unusual to find gold in groundwater, but we have two places with gold in groundwater. These represent multi-order magnitude jumps in groundwater gold concentrations. They're concentrations that you'd expect to find in and around the major gold mines in the state. And today, these are our Grass Valley and our South Grass Valley projects. Now, I can zoom across all of Nevada like this, and I can show you our handful of projects. They all sit close to and adjacent to big gold deposits you're familiar with. The challenge, or our objective now, these become rather conventional projects. I invite you to come by the booth, or my map, and I'll tell you about our Scorpion drill rig. We're using this to lower the cost of collecting early stage drilling samples to reduce these projects down to more conventional drill tools. and partnered with our groundwater chemistry technology, we think that we've got the most exciting portfolio of covered gold projects in Nevada. So, yeah, sum it all up. We think that Nevada's basins present the most exciting opportunity anywhere in the space. We're the only group that's focused on leveraging new technology to complete the district scale exploration required to be successful. This is the sort of scale of exploration that was responsible for the major deposits that are in production today. It's the sort of scale of exploration that was missing in the last cycle. And we're now advancing a portfolio of projects using this technology. So I invite you to come and join me and talk further.